How do you feel about Palworld? I don't really have any opinions on Palworld. At least not really, at least any, concrete opinions, since I've never played it. But I will say this, though. I do find it rather ignorant to simply generalize it as just Pokemon with guns. Like, when you actually play the game itself, like, I actually did see, somebody else play the game. I saw plenty of, gameplay footage of it. Oh, shut the fuck up. And when you play the game, you actually start to realize that it's more than just Pokemon with guns. It's actually, I guess you would say, Ark survival with Pokemon. Or I guess you could say, like, maybe Pokemon as an open-world survival game with crafting. And it's also I guess you could say it's kind of an action RPG. No, maybe it's not an action RPG. I guess it's more akin to being a third-person shooter. Like, again, it plays relatively similarly, it looks like, to Ark Survival, but it has, Pokemon, like, monster collecting mechanics. It's not really Pokemon with guns. You don't unlock the guns until, like, level 20. Yeah, I do know that it takes a long time to actually start using guns. It seems like the whole, like, Pokemon with guns thing was really just the thing to get the game to sell. But goddamn, you gotta respect the success that it's been seeing, for the first week. The fact that it's been getting like 1 million new players every day for a week. In fact, I heard that that Palworld actually reached the second highest number of unanimous players. Yeah, it's so funny how like the best advertisement that a monster collecting game can get is that it's a Pokemon alternative, especially considering how stagnant the Pokemon formula has gotten. Not only that, but an open world survival Pokemon game. Like, it seems like such a simple idea, so simple that you're actually rather shocked that Nintendo hasn't capitalized on that yet. At this point, Palworld's about outsold Minecraft and Wii, but yeah, I know. Yeah, I know that it's going to, like, outsell a lot of games. In fact, it's already outsold a lot of NES and Super NES games. Unfortunately, it still has a long way to go before it can outsell the original Pokemon Red and Blue. And Yellow, for that matter. But, even then, like, the second highest peak simultaneous, player activity, like, that's nothing to snuff at. That's nothing to sneeze at. The thing is, though, like, my main concern with Palworld is if it can maintain this momentum for, like, longer than, like, 2 or 3 months. Because, I've seen it happen plenty of times before, when a game gets, like, super popular, but then it just kind of dies out, relatively quickly. It's happened with Multiverse. It's happened with, Fall Guys, kinda. And then I guess it just kind of resurged into popularity, so maybe that's not the best example. But, it's happened before. Like, especially, like, when you're making a game that many people are, like, directly comparing to Pokemon simply by the nature of it being a monster collecting game. And considering that the game is still in, early access... Since there's not really a whole lot of content in it, I did see the roadmap that they posted for it, saying, exactly what they have planned for the future of Palworld. Unfortunately, they didn't really go into any specifics. They just said that there was going to be, like, more content added for it. It's kind of worrying, though, because their previous game, Craftopia, had been in early access for 3 years. And it's still in early access today. So, I'm just kind of worried that the game's not going to introduce a lot of substantive content on a regular-esque basis to be able to maintain its popularity. You know, if Craftopia is anything to go off of. And I also heard that apparently a lot of the glitches that were present in Craftopia are also present in Palworld. And because those glitches still haven't been fixed, you know, I think it's perfectly reasonable to be skeptical about the future of Palworld. Even setting aside the whole like Pokemon controversy. You know, where everybody's like constantly comparing PALs to Pokemon, how the designs look exceedingly similar. I think the Pokemon community is still investigating the whole shebang. You know, still trying to figure out exactly what they want to where they want to take it. You know, how they want to handle it all. I just hope to God that they don't, flat out shut the game down in its entirety. But then again, like, if that was a likelihood, they probably would have already done so the moment the game was announced. I mean, nobody had a problem with the similarities then. You know, the game had been announced, like, what, about a year ago? So why is everybody taking issue with it now? But yeah, I do really hope that that there is at least some kind of competitor to Pokemon. Like obviously, like with Pokemon being the most financially successful franchise of all time, obviously nothing's going to be able to kill it. But there does need to be some kind of competition so that it can hopefully. Oh well. It really only happened with Multiverses because the devs were getting lazy with updates. Fall Guy because Among Us outdid it tenfold. Yeah. Funny how Souls-like and roguelikes are more respected than Mons games. Yeah, I guess I can't really say anything about Soul-likes because I've never really played a Soul-like game. Are more respected than Mon. Yeah, that's primarily because, there aren't really a lot of Mon games, monster collecting games even being, really being put in the limelight. The only other, monster collecting game, at least from an indie game company, at least, now that Digimon comes to mind, that was put in the limelight was Temtem. Oh yeah, Temtem's another good example. You know, a lot of people called Temtem the Pokemon killer. And look what happened to that. Some other monster collecting games that I had my eye on, but nobody really, really gave a shit about was Nexomon, Nexomon Extinction, and Koromon. I think Koromon was actually part of a Steam Fest, or Next Fest event on Steam. But yeah, I do really wish that eventually there will, come a game that will, be a, legitimate competitor to... Thank you for that. A legitimate competitor to Pokemon. Just for the sole purpose of, closest TBC had to competition was Yokai Watch. Oh yeah, Yokai Watch. I forgot that was a thing. But I think now, Pokemon's, real competition... I don't know about real competition. But, the one thing that has met... The one, monster collecting game that has managed to stick around for the longest time is, I guess one could argue, Shin Megami Tensei. I that just occurred to me, but then there's also Digimon that doesn't seem to have a fixed genre. It doesn't really seem to have a main line series. It's just they're just kind of making whatever the hell they want. But there hasn't really been I guess what I really meant to say was that I really want there to be some kind of monster collecting game that can I guess maybe make people threaten to leave Pokemon, just to make Nintendo actually try to evolve the formula. Because at the moment they don't really have much of an incentive to. Because as long as people continue to buy the next mainline game, they still sell like hotcakes regardless of their quality. A lot of people still have fun with them. Only reason I know about Temtem is because of the Master of Doom's Palworld. Oh, wow, really? Yeah, Temtem was not an obscure game. I think Temtem actually came out shortly after Sword and Shield did. You know, it kind of came out at the right time. You know, because everybody was already so sick of how stagnant the franchises had gotten. But then the game ended up, you know, falling into obscurity primarily because of how, I guess, less than positive, not so positive the reception to the customer service was, or I guess customer support. I say customer support as if I'm talking about Walmart. I only know one person who is a big Pokemon fan, and they seem to prefer Palworld greatly at this point. Yeah, totally understandable. You know, considering. From what I understand, Pokemon just follows the Madden of Duty method of releases. Yeah. Honestly, I think at this point in time, Pokemon might actually be the only franchise today that's still releasing two mainline games side by side that are essentially just the exact same, with the only exception being like very, very, very few minute differences. You know, just to try to get you to you know, buy both games. There are certain Pokemon that are exclusive to each individual version. Pokemon 2K24. You know what? That's actually a really good way to put it. I did not think of that. It always made me laugh that people would scream about how predatory DLC and season passes are, and then buy 2 copies of Pokemon and 25 amiibo to unlock all. I know, right? Like, there's really no point in complaining about all this shit if you're just gonna financially support it anyway. I mean, why do you think they haven't made an Elder Scrolls 6 yet? Because you keep fucking buying the latest version of Skyrim. Like, I don't think you are in any position to be complaining about them not making a new Elder Scrolls. I mean, unless you want to count Elder Scrolls Online as the next... Or, what's it called? Elsewhere? But anyways, yeah, that's beside the point. Like, if you want to see change, you gotta kick them where it hurts the most. In their bank accounts. You need to put your foot down, and you need to tell them, this dollar is not leaving my wallet until you give me a good product. And I really do hope to God that, you know, some monster collecting game rivals like Pokemon to, you know, a, you know, competitive degree. You know, whether it be Temtem or Palworld or Koromon or Nexomon. I'm just really worried because, you know, given the company that made Palworld, they didn't really seem to like anticipate, you know, this, you know, how successful Palworld was going to be. You know, because you know, when the game came out and the game became so popular, like the servers were so congested, like people were having a hard time loading into places. People were having a hard time loading the game up or connecting to the servers. I just hope to God that you know, that doesn't you know, cut the game's life short. Assuming that the Pokemon Company, you know, leaves it untouched. You know, given the whole, like, you know, controversy with the models and such. Let's see. Heard somewhere that the point of 2 Pokemon games wasn't to buy both games, but to trade with people who have the one you don't have. Huh. You know what? I think maybe that might have been you know, the way that games used to be. Okay, so maybe my knowledge on Pokemon is outdated. So I found it funny that people started review bombing it because of server issues. Yeah, because it came from a company that's not used to seeing, you know, all these players coming in, so they didn't think that they needed anything better. You know, if Craftopia is anything to go off of. Yeah, have ever played any online game at launch before? I know, right? Yeah, that's a common thing with, you know, with games at launch, is that they usually start off with having mixed reviews, and then then they end up fixing the game a little bit, and now all of a sudden, I didn't say nothing. Out like the 30 MMOs I played at launch, 30 of them had massive server issues, yeah. Like, if it were months deep, and the game still has insane server issues, by all means go crazy in your review. Oh yeah, absolutely, but you can't review a game on its launch weekend and say it's worthless because of server issues. Yeah, I guess. But, you know, to be fair, though, I don't think it's unreasonable to, you know, want to expect a game to work properly right out of the box.